Let's pick up on one of the stories that Ellie mentioned there, UKIP's immigration policy announced this morning. And we've been joined by the party's immigration spokesman, John Bickley. Welcome to the Daily Politics. As you know, immigration statistics are notoriously hard to collect. How much would it cost you and UKIP to institute this policy and get precise data on who is leaving and who is arriving?
Well, it would be a role for the Migration Control Commission. I mean, I find it interesting that this morning we hear from Theresa May yet again. She's going to promise to reduce immigration to tens of thousands.
And what are you promising?
Well, I'm reminded of the, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3-4 times, shame on the Tory party.
And I've done that with Dominic Grieve, but I want to know more about your policy. I mean, you can't control the number of people leaving, can you? Or the nature of their skills and the experience that they take with them. So how would one in, one out work? Other than being a very
remember, the key here is that it's a rolling average over 5 years. So you give the Migration Control Commission a lot of flexibility on a rolling 5-year period to take into account annual variances. So rather than trying to dictate absolute numbers by particular sectors, you're taking a broad average look at this over a rolling 5-year period. So basically, what we're trying to say here is we need to get immigration under control. The British people
under control, yeah. And what would that mean in terms of number? But what does that mean?
Well, we know for the last few years that the Tories have failed completely.
Sure, but what does it mean for you in terms of numbers? What would under control mean?
We've said already at the moment we've got 600,000 people coming in there or thereabouts. Net is around 300,000 there or thereabouts. That's the size of a city of Newcastle coming in every year.
And your proposal is
net zero immigration. So we want
net zero immigration.
Net zero immigration. So basically, if 300,000 people leave, we want 300,000 people coming in. So it's on average over 5 years, it's flat. Now Frank Field has been saying this for years. Balanced migration.
How would you actually do it?
Because rather than pretending the politicians will do all this themselves because they never deliver, that's why we'd have a Migration Control Commission.
Right. How many people would be involved with this? I mean, it would be a massive expansion of government power to monitor down to every individual person who is leaving, what skills they may be taking and what you may need, even over a rolling period in any particular sector.
Well, there's the challenge for the political class, because they failed miserably.
Right. But is it achievable? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to work out what the mechanics are.
I think it is achievable because other countries have a go at this and achieve it. You know, Australia for one. So if we're saying
have they got a zero? Have they got a zero?
I don't know whether they have a zero. They want to grow their population. That's their own wish to do so, and they're a sovereign nation. They have that right to do it. I mean, we're saying that it's politically correct for a government to state that they will deliver zero net migration over a rolling period.
Well, not if it's not achievable.
Of doing that, they should get out of power.
Right, and you say you can do it. What I'm trying to challenge you on is whether it is actually achievable. I'm not going to talk about whether it's desirable, but whether it's actually achievable.
Yes.
I mean, if two migrants had similar skills, for example, would your Migration Control Commission choose one over another based on their country of origin, for example?
No.
Well, how would you choose?
We're not interested in where people come from.
Yeah, but how would you choose?
Not interested. That's up to the Migration Control Commission to come up with a plan and a system for allowing us to balance migration.
Right.
That seems a reasonable way of moving this debate forward and delivering what the British people want. They've had enough of being lied to by the Tory party and the Labour Party, who keep promising them they're going to control immigration, and they don't.
But you want to ban all unskilled migration to the UK for 5 years. What do you think? What impact do you think that will have on certain sectors of the economy?
Well, maybe they'll start employing more British people.
But what immediate impact would it have?
Joe, remember, there's already hundreds of thousands of low-skilled immigrants in this country. We're not short of low-skilled immigrants. Unemployment
is not particularly high. If we look at the EU nationals, if you look at the EU nationals, they account for 31% of the workers in food manufacturing, 21% of those in hotels and other accommodation, 16% of those in agriculture, and 15% of those in warehouses. With the best will in the world, if on day one you sent those people home and you stopped you stop those people coming in even over a 5-year period, what would happen to those economies?
Hold on. We haven't said anything about reducing the number of people already in this country. We actually would want to see a situation where everyone here from the EU who's been here up to the day Article 50 was triggered is be able to stay here. But that needs to be done on the basis that the British people who reside in the EU 27 can also stay in the EU. We want those people to stay here. We want to say to the EU, let's have a sensible deal here where all the people from the EU are here, and that's over 3 million. We want them to stay here and continue to contribute to the British economy.
Right, but my question was, what impact would it have on those sectors I listed when you think of the percentage of EU nationals that account for the workforces there?
I don't think it'd have any impact at all. We've already said we'll issue seasonal agricultural visas, but expect those to come down over a period of time because we need to get more of our own people into work. And again, we have Theresa May talking the talk but failing to walk the walk. She's promised, along with Cameron, over the last 5 years to bring immigration down to the tens of thousands. That's 2 prime ministers, not some second-string civil servant.
No, and you've made that point. You've made that point. But can you name me a country in the Western world which aims to have zero net migration?
I'm not really interested in any other country.
Right. So there isn't one. There isn't one.
I'm interested in us doing the right thing for Britain.
Right. And you think it's desirable, intrinsically desirable, to have zero net migration?
That's what we've said. And the British people want to see migration brought down.
Right. John Bickley, thank you very much for coming in.